Welcome back to my channel. If you if this is your first time joining us, please go back to part 1 so that you do not miss over half of the book. We are going to do a quick review before we get started reading today. So the last couple of chapters that we read were called BBLC Inc. and Tools of the Trade. So if you remember in BBLL Inc., Rebecca had requested that the banned book library locker had become an incorporation. So in order for it to be an incorporation, they needed different people to be in charge of different things, which put Amy in as the librarian, and she had not really thought about calling herself a librarian, and that kind of pushed us into the next chapter. So in order to be a librarian, she had to have some kind of system to know whenever who had which books and when they needed to bring them back, like a due date, just like Miss Harvey does for us, or used to do for us. So she went into the library and was kind of just staring at Mrs. Jones, and Mrs. Jones asked her if she had a question, and she was like, I'm just kind of looking and watching and seeing what you do to get books checked out to different people. So Mrs. Jones said, bring me a copy of The Witch of Blackbird Pond, and Amy Ann figured out that they used to use these things called a date due card. It's kind of like a little envelope taped to either the front or the back of a book, but it used to have some kind of like index card, some kind of card in there where the students would sign their names and the librarians would stamp a due date, and then they would give them a different copy of that to put in the side of the book so that they knew whenever it was due. I'll pop up a picture of that right here. Mrs. Jones, gave Amy Ann the date stamp for Amy Ann to use in her books, although Mrs. Jones didn't know what it was used for. So that is where we're at now. Nowhere to stop to. The index cards and envelopes I found in my mom's home office, which doubled as a treadmill room, and tripled as a guest bedroom, and quadrupled as a place where we dumped all the holiday stuff and anything else we didn't have a place for. Angelina's room had a glue stick, and there was a pair of scissors in the kitchen drawer. Now all I needed was a place to work. My bed wasn't a great place to cut and paste. Alexis was in there using my bedpost for a ballet bar again, and playing her music too loud. The kitchen table would have been perfect, but Angelina had turned it into a pony barn. She'd used the paper shredder in Mom's office to make hay again, and it was scattered all over the floor. I went to the living room instead, where Mom and Dad were watching something with knights and swords on TV. Dad paused the show they were watching as I came in. "What's up, kiddo?" "Just school stuff," I said. I set my things down on the coffee table and settled in. "Oh, I'm sorry, hun. I need you to find something else to work tonight," Mom said. "We're watching something you're not old enough to watch yet." "And where do you expect me to go?" I wanted to ask them. "Alexis has turned my room into a ballet studio, and Angelina has turned the kitchen into a stable." I sighed heavily instead. I snatched up my things as angrily as I could and stomped into the kitchen. "I need the kitchen table," I told Angelina. "Nay," she said. I plunked my things down on the table. "You're just playing. I have a school project to do," I told her. "Nay," Angelina said. I pulled out a chair and sat down, messing up her piles of shredded paper. No, I was here first, Angelina screamed. She grabbed the chair I was sitting in and yanked on it. When she couldn't move it, she tried pulling me by the arm out of the chair. "Let go, I'm working." You're ruining it! "Angelina, Amy Ann," my father called from the living room. "Enough!" Angelina stopped trying to pull me out of the chair and collapsed onto the floor, where she rolled around, kicking her legs and screaming at the top of her lungs. "Girls!" Dad bellowed from the living room. "I do not want to deal with this right now." "I was here first!" Angelina wailed. "I was here first!" "Amy Ann," Mom called. "Your sister was already using the kitchen. Find someplace else to work." I pushed my chair back from the table with as much noise as I could, picked up my things, and stomped out of the kitchen, kicking Angelina's piles of shredded paper into the air as I went. She wailed even louder, which made me feel good even though I was steaming mad. I still needed somewhere to work. I wasn't going to fight another battle with Alexis in my room, not after Angelina had already gotten my parents angry. And I needed more room than my old hideout, the bathroom. Angelina's fit and my parents yelling at us had woken the dogs and sent them scurrying into the hall, nubby tails down and unhappy. They didn't like it when we yelled, and they were looking for a place to hide like I was. Flotsam and Jetsam followed me into Mom's office. The bed was covered with boxes of Christmas decorations, and blankets and camping gear we had never used, and Mom's desk was piled so high with papers and folders and boxes that it was useless. There was room on the floor, though. I plopped down with as much frustration as I could and spread out my envelopes and note cards, which Flotsam and Jetsam proceeded to stuff all over. "No, no!" I told them, but they kept moving around, their tails wiggling in happiness as they bent my cards and envelopes. They weren't trying to be bad, they were just trying to get as close to me as possible, and since I was on the floor, they thought I was down there to pet them and play with them. I dodged the dog's big legs and collected all my things again, and pushed past them into the hall. There wasn't a single place in this house I could work. I stomped through the kitchen again, where Angelina eyed me warily from underneath the table. I didn't even bother kicking her shredded paper. I went straight to the back door and outside, where it was raining. I dashed to Mom's car and jumped into the front passenger seat. There was no flat space to glue, and the car still smelled like sour milk. But at least I could work there in peace. If only I could drive. Then I would have started the car and driven far, far away from there. I ran the back of my arm across my eyes, and I couldn't tell if I was wiping away rain or tears. The right to bear arms. Trey had already pulled our desks together when I got to class the next day. It was time to work on our Bill of Rights project together. Not that I expected him to do any of the actual work. All he did in class was draw pictures. I heaved my swelling backpack up onto my desk with a thunk. "Whoa," Trey said. "What have you got? Like every school book you own in there?" "Yes," I said. I unzipped my bag and pulled my social studies textbook out from the rest. It hit my desk with another thunk. It's very heavy. "Why don't you keep all your books in your locker?" Trey asked. I froze. "Stupid, Amy Ann, stupid. The reason I had all my textbooks stuffed in my backpack was because all the space in my locker was taken up by banned books. But of course I couldn't tell Trey that. I hate having to go out to my locker," I lied. "But I see you at your locker all the time," Trey said. "You're always meeting people there." He was on to me. There was no question. He was trying to catch me in a lie, but I wasn't going to fall for it. "Can we just get to our project?" I said. We missed a whole day because I had to go to the office. I dug in my stuffed backpack for the notes I'd made on the First Amendment. Trey pulled out the sketchbook he carried everywhere. "Yeah, what happened? Did you get in trouble with Principal Banana?" "No," I told him. I looked him in the eyes. Had he expected me to get in trouble? Was he just messing with me? If he was hiding it pretty well. "That's good," he said, but I didn't believe him. "Here are my notes on the First Amendment," I said. "Cool," he said. I drew some pictures. "Of what?" I asked. "More pictures of me as a mouse?" Trey looked confused. The Bill of Rights for our project." I was stunned. Trey had actually done work on our project? He turned his sketchbook around so I could see. It was a drawing of a man with huge furry arms with claws at the end. I frowned. "What's this?" I asked. "The right to bear arms," he said. I rolled my eyes. "It's bear like Carrie, not bear like bear," I said. "And besides, that's the Second Amendment. We're doing the First Amendment." "I know," he said with a little smile. I couldn't help it. It was too funny. It was the first time I had ever seen Trey smile, and it surprised me. He had a really friendly face under his uncombed blonde hair when he smiled. For a second I kind of liked him and his funny drawing, which really was pretty good. But then I remembered who he was and what he'd done to me in 3rd grade. "What does MMIII mean?" I said. It was written on the bottom corner of the picture. "Is that Roman numerals or something?" "That's my signature," Trey said. "Marvin McBride III." "Marvin McBride? I thought your name was Trey Spencer," I said. "Trey is just my nickname. And my mom and dad divorced when I was in kindergarten, and they both remarried," he said. "McBride is my dad's last name. He's a commercial illustrator. He lives in Atlanta with his new family. My mom married a guy whose last name is Wheeler, but she'd already gone back to using Spencer. That's her maiden name." "Oh," I said. I didn't know what else to say to that. "Did you do anything on the First Amendment?" "Yeah," Trey said. He flipped to another page where he'd drawn a picture of people bowing down before a weird-looking alien coming out of a UFO. What is this? I asked. They're worshipping an alien, see? The First Amendment says Congress can't make laws about establishing religions, so they're free to worship aliens if they want. I don't think that's exactly what it's saying. That part is about how the government can establish one religion and make everybody follow it. Oh, Trey said. He turned his picture around and looked at it. Too bad. I really like that alien. It works for the other part about religion, I told him. The free exercise clause. That's the one that says that government can't stop you from believing in whatever religion you want. What did you draw for that one? Trey flipped to the next page. In that picture, a bunch of people in pope hats and robes were lifting weights. I said, I had no idea what I was looking at. The free exercise of religion, Trey said. He smiled slyly again. He knew that the free exercise of religion really meant you could worship whoever you wanted to, however you wanted to. Not people in church doing weightlifting, but it was funny. I smiled despite myself. I think we better use the UFO picture instead of that one, I told him. Yeah, he said. Oh, I've got another one for freedom of the press. The picture showed a woman pressing the middle of 3 big buttons. See, Trey said. She's got the freedom to press whichever button she wants. I snorted, then caught myself. I did not want to like Trey or his pictures. You do know that freedom of the press means you can print anything you want, and the government can't tell you not to, right? Trey shrugged. Mine's funnier. Did you do anything for the freedom to assemble? Trey turned the page to a picture of a boy sitting on the floor building with Legos. I closed my eyes and shook my head. I thought about having him assemble a model car, but more people would get the Lego thing, he said. The right to assembly says that we can get together in public and protest stuff if we want, Trey said. I know. I drew a real one for the right to petition. I couldn't think of anything funny for that. His picture of the right to petition showed a clipboard with lots of signatures on it, so there were at least 2 usable pictures. I ran down my list of the rights protected in the First Amendment. There was only one we hadn't done, the right to free speech. Trey said he had a picture for that one too, and he flipped through his sketchbook looking for it. I expected Trey to have drawn a picture of somebody giving a speech without charging for it, or maybe a speech bubble, or the word speech, breaking out of jail and going free. Instead, what he showed me was a drawing of a locker with a sign on it that said, Books Banned at Shelburne Elementary. My locker. I looked up at Trey in surprise. He wasn't smiling this time, or even looking at me. He was staring at his hands. He was right, though. Making me take down my sign was against the freedom of speech. I hadn't even thought of it that way. But had he drawn it because he agreed with me, or disagreed with me? I frowned at the thought. Are you ever going to tell me why you don't like me? Trey asked. You shouldn't have to ask, I wanted to yell. You should know that your mom is an awful person for banning books, and you're an awful person for spying on me and drawing that stupid picture of me last year. Instead, I just grabbed the edges of my chair and stared angrily at my desk. Mr. Vaughn announced that it was time to put away our social studies and get out our vocab books. Okay, well, I'll work on the others and show them to you when I'm done, Trey said, and he dragged his desk back across to the other side of the room.
Hey guys, thanks for checking in and watching and listening to the book as we go on. Make sure that you're washing your hands and staying safe and staying clean during this time, and we'll see you when we see you. Bye.